Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Single best idea. My single best idea is to have, I have a book of the year, an article of the year, an essay of the year, if you will. My essay of the year was Lawrence McDonald last year, who's got a new book out. We'll get to that as we stagger through the spring. One day it's going to warm up in New York City. Did it snow today, Eric? I think it's like, are you kidding me? When's this end? Plus, we're playing baseball. The Mets have played like one game, right? I mean, it's terrible. Anyways, the book of the year last year was The Loom of Time, and it is spectacular. It's standard Robert D. Kaplan, and in this case, he goes from Morocco, chapter by chapter, east over to the stands. In chapter 3, he wanders into Constantinople. And so when we had the Erdogan news, I said, of course, get Robert D. Kaplan because The Loom of Time is spectacular and he's very, very knowledgeable about the 22 years of Erdogan. We did that. But then the bonus of our extended conversations, and I think Paul Sweeney brought this up, was Israel and what we see in Gaza and what all of us are agonizing over in the Levant. Here is Robert D. Kaplan on after Netanyahu.
I think the morning after Mr. Netanyahu exits, you will see the same policy more or less applied in Gaza. A determination to kill off those or to defeat those last 6 or 8 battalions of Hamas in southern Gaza in the Rafah area, the desire to keep pressing militarily, to kill off the Hamas leadership, the desire to again restore sovereignty in northern Israel through, if necessary, a war with Hezbollah. I think a lot of us have been, are living in a dream world that the policy is going to suddenly shift 45 or 90 degrees in a direction because of the end of Netanyahu. I think the fundamental war policy will continue, though it will take on a much more diplomatic guise.
Robert T. Kaplan, of course, iconic at the Atlantic years ago, a whole series of books, many of which I featured. And again, The Loom of Time, my book of the year for 2023. What an interesting show today. Into the jobs report. We'll do the jobs report on Friday. ADP coming in pretty well. Great equity conversations as well. But really the news that slipped into the discussion this week has been commodities and, of course, led by Brent crude, back out to $90 a barrel. There were 2 giants who slipped away from the major houses at the end of 2023. One, Jeffrey Curry at Goldman Sachs, and another, Edward Morse at Citigroup. And I just said to myself, I can't fathom Edward Morse not waking up every day thinking the geopolitics, the macro picture of our global hydrocarbon supply and demand. And of course, Edward Morse has teamed up with Hartree. It is an Amerada Hess original company 30, 40 years ago. Oaktree is involved as well. And of course, they're doing great think tank work, if you will, on hydrocarbons. Here is Edward Morse on our supply and demand at $90 a barrel.
I don't think it's the demand side, Tom. I think it's really the supply side. I think it's a combination of factors on the supply side. That combination of factors is a restraint that major producers are having in putting crude oil into the market, and the distortions in the market that need to be worked out, and they will be worked out, that come from the blockages of the Suez Canal and leading, Sumed pipeline is the only way to really get sustainable flows into the Med and out of the Med from the Middle East and to the Middle East. So we're going to have, as we did with Russia, Ukraine, a working out of freight rates, a working out of that distortion, weighing on prices eventually. And what we don't really know is what the response is going to be on the demand side with respect to buying oil from the Middle East and elsewhere, particularly in China.
Ed Morse ending up there on China. And I really want to review this right now. The heritage of Bloomberg Surveillance is we're just as interested when our experts are wrong is when they're right. But we do like to trumpet when they're right. Edward Morse, with absolutely the greatest hydrocarbon call, coming out of the pandemic. Everyone was looking for bigger demand, many models of $90 a barrel, $100, dare I say, modeling out a fan distribution up to $110, $120 a barrel. And Edward Morse very quietly said, no, supply will come on. And he was dead right. He absolutely nailed oil, I'm going to say as a broad sense, 2020 out to 2022. That's the kind of guess that we like to see. Of course, Bloomberg Surveillance on Apple CarPlay, on Google as well. Download the Bloomberg Business app, and you can get over to Apple CarPlay. It's just the new consumption. Eric's in the fancy cars. I don't have it in the Nash, but it's in, like, if you have a fancy car, you have Apple CarPlay. So they're going to build that out, and that'll take 1, 2, 3, 4 years as our cars age, unlike us. And the other is YouTube. YouTube, search Bloomberg Podcasts. We are humbled by, I just got the month-end results. Thank you so much internationally for the YouTube attention, and there's a live chat there as well. We're really thrilled with Single Best Idea. We're bringing it out. We're looking at artwork and, fancy other stuff as well. Hope you like it. And Apple is the place to get this podcast, Single Best Idea.